Good evening and welcome to KILI Radio Storytelling Hour. Every Wednesday from 5 to 6, we come up here and bring you story, education, and always the Lakota language. And I want to thank the KILI Radio for this program. And I want to thank my nephew Hercules for playing that, awesome song. And we'll keep playing that every show. That is a good song. This evening we have a story, but I want to welcome back my nephew too, Dennis, and he was gone for a whole month. Was it 2 months? I don't know.
Almost
2 months. And when he came back, the culture here, we have a culture here. He's a Lakota. And we talked about this earlier. We will touch on that. But before we get into that, I want to say that I want to thank the listeners in Rapid City, Potato Creek, Rosebud, and all of you who are on the road going home. It's a nice, cool evening, so have a good ride. And there's some people out there in Manderson that I wanted to. We always say hello to Tom C. We saw him going towards Wounded Knee, so he's probably on his way back to Pine Ridge right now. And someday he'll be a mayor of Pine Ridge. You bet.
I believe it.
Yeah. And then Charlie, if you're listening, probably on his way back to Martin. And then we'll see you Friday. And Tim, he works at the school. I never see anybody work so hard. That guy can work. As soon as he punches in, he starts working. And then I want to say hello to Karen. She's probably on the way back from work. And I want to say happy birthday to Marnie. Marnie Whitewood. If you are listening, hurry back. We miss you. I understand you're coming back Friday, so maybe we will have a birthday cake. And I think you have some too. So I will, this is Brian Charging Cloud, and I want to say good evening and welcome to the KILI Radio Storytelling. And I'm going to let Dennis
say hello. Yeah. This is Dennis Ghost. I'm from Manderson. Took about a 2.5 month vacation traveling along the eastern seaboard. Went down Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, all the way up into Pennsylvania, and eventually made my way back to Michigan, to my second home. But I'd really like to thank KILI Radio and Hercules for having me on the air. It's truly an honor. I'd like to thank the Lakota Nation out there for tuning in and listening to KILI, and then once Lexi Bryan for having me up here with him. I became a grass dancer over. I've been putting together my outfit for seems like months, but I finally finished it and danced at six wachipis over the summer. But the ones that I danced at, they call them powwows. So it was interesting. It was an interesting. It really opened my eyes to other cultures. Native cultures, in fact. I spent a lot of time around the Potawatomi people, the Cherokee people, there was some Apache people that I ran into, and what really made me the proudest to be a Lakota is that I was at Wachipi in Michigan, over by Detroit, and they played the Lakota flag song. I always, since I've moved here and learning and the pride inside of me has grown being Lakota, but it really hit me when I listened to these people play the Lakota flag song. And I honestly I went right up to the arena director and I says, I didn't really play stupid or anything, but I just told him, I says, that's an interesting song. And he's seen my license plates, South Dakota license plates, and he knew obviously I was Lakota. And I asked him, I says, why the Lakota flag song? Because they don't have a flag song of their own. They had a victory song, and I asked him explicitly, I says, your victory for your victory of what? Because because I've read a lot about them, and the other native peoples, especially to the east, and and they are native, and I have to give them props for that. But being Lakota, I didn't really realize that people actually look up to us.
Yeah.
To the point where it's almost jealousy. Where you're taking a flag song, you're taking culture. There's even guys out there with a last name that's John Smith, but he's changing his name to John Two Bears or John Walking Ghost or something just insane like that. Where they almost have to create an identity with a name to call themselves native in a way, but we don't have to do that here. Being Lakota is in having this culture. We have our own language. We have our own style. We have our own environment. There's so many things that we have as Lakota that there's other native people out there that they have no idea about. I sitting there at these different Wachipis, and there's a guy that says he's from the Eagle clan or whatever he said. He was from some clan, and he had a bustle. It's a traditional dancer, and he had a bustle with about 75 pristine eagle feathers on it. He's from the Eagle clan, so he can wear that eagle bustle, I guess. I couldn't even imagine what he would have wore if he was from the Bear clan, but I was happy when I got back here.
Maybe I was sitting here thinking, while you were talking, the Lakota culture is like some people. There's some people out there that changed their name, like you mentioned. I run across them. One of them even changed his name to Soaring Hawk. He was here, right on this reservation, and when he came here, he changed his name to Soaring Hawk. And then when you go to other states, like I was in Florida when I was in the Navy, and sometimes they ask you, is that really your last name?
Yeah.
And then, may I see your ID card?
Yeah.
Or can I see your driver's license? And you show it to them. And then they don't say anything. And then over here, since we live this life every day, every minute, every second, it's our name and what you do, how you do it, your language, everything. Your regalia, your songs. Sometimes we don't stop to think.
No.
That the things that we do as Lakota are hard to, like that word, hard to be Lakota.
Right. Look to follow the Lakota way.
Yeah.
You know, and that was the thing too, is that, of course, everybody, Crazy Horse, Sitting Bull, Red Cloud, Black Elk. You know, everybody knows that those are Lakota men.
Yeah.
The first thing that I ran into was those are the people that these other Native people. That's who they know.
Mm-hmm.
But they just knew they were from out west. No, those are Lakota people.
Yeah.
These are heroes of these Potawatomi or Cherokee or whoever. That's their heroes. And that's my family. You know, it made me just the pride of being Lakota. It was unexplainable that I listening to these people talk.
Yeah, in the United States, well, this is just me. When you go to say Arizona, New Mexico, you see the Navajo Nation, the Diné.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of them, and their culture is just like is in a way like, I'm not saying Lakota Nation. These two are very how you want to say it, dominant culture, and the other ones, they're proud people too, like
exactly.
Blackfeet, Arapaho, and then you have the eastern part of the United States, and that's where some of these, let's say Lumbee or like Cherokee.
Yep.
If they're what's that one word we always say up here too? Know who you are and where you come from. No, they don't. Once they lose that, then they want to belong to something
more.
They want to be associated, like they want to say, well, I'm Cherokee and I'm enrolled at Oklahoma or North Carolina or Michigan.
Or not enrolled at all.
Yeah.
You know, and that was the thing was, you know, I heard, you know, the old adage where, well, you know, I'm Cherokee. My grandmother was a Cherokee princess. Well, I didn't hear that specifically, but I did hear a lady say that her grandmother was an Apache princess. Yeah. That is what it is. But I'm so happy that I am Lakota, and I don't have to say anything like that. I'm Oglala Lakota. And that pretty much says everything in itself, that I'm Lakota. And once I got into Rosebud, I went to get gas, and I heard these, you know, two Lakota guys telling jokes at the gas station. Yeah. I knew that I was home. Yeah. And it really just does my heart good being here. But I did need that out there to see that, you know, not to take this for granted.
Yeah. You see Wachipi over there that are different. Mm-hmm. And then, like one day, I was talking to, I don't know who it was, but okay, over here in South Dakota, we have the Walla Nation, we have the Rosebud Fair and Rodeo, we have the Cheyenne River Fair and Rodeo, we have the Little Rule, then we have the Standing Rock, and if you go to Cheyenne River, and then you go to the Walla Nation, they're not exactly alike.
Oh, right.
One of them, you're going to see more, maybe more culture, maybe older culture. The other one you might see culture. What's that word they use up here? Contemporary culture.
Yep. Contemporary.
Yeah. So it's like that too over here. And then you go to other states, then you're going to see very contemporary.
Right. That they, Oglala Nation. I didn't make it this past year, but the year before, I sat with, and the gentleman out there, Delmer One Feather. I'd like to send a shout out to him. But is
he a contemporary?
He's old school contemporary. That guy's everything.
Okay,
so he's a singer. He's danced. But he's got long hair. He's got braids. He's a good man.
That's good.
But out there, it's not in South Dakota, but say the tribes in the east is that they go way overboard trying to be
Lakota.
Native.
Yeah.
Trying to be native.
Yeah, native.
Here this is just part of this is just who we are. We don't have to try. We know who we are.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have to try to be. And you made a very good point this morning. Actually at lunchtime about, the people in the East or whatever would love to wake up every day and have OLC, Channel 4, Channel 5, playing video of Wachipis for all day long, to have their own native radio station.
Yeah.
There's in the East, they would kill for something like that. And I come back here, turn on OLC, watch it on TV. Turn it to KILI. I can listen to it right here at KILI. That's the best part, and that's Lakota. There's Lakota people out there listening right now that we shouldn't take any of this for granted. If it's the small things, because we have a culture of our own. And there's good and bad in that. However you want to. You take that it's your environment, can also be your culture. How we do things or whatever. That's part of your culture too. And I talked to this guy by the name, and I don't know if he's listening, but his name is Larry Anderson. He's he's a Lumbee, in fact, lives in Michigan. Yeah. He's not an enrolled member of any tribe or anything like that, but and he's been out here visiting a couple times. He has some friends here in Kyle. But we were talking, and he goes, about being on the res, that being part of your environment or having your environment be a part of you. Mm-hmm. Do you make the change, or do you just go along and go with the flow? We've been trying to make change, ever since I've been here, to try to make change, and there's a lot of good people out there that try to make change every single day. One of the names you said earlier was Tim Little Dog. Mm-hmm. It was a pleasure seeing him when I walked back to the school. That guy tries to make a change every day. I really appreciate that, and the new people that I've met since I've came back, Amy. Yeah. She's the third grade teacher at Wounded Knee. Dylan, he's the 8th grade teacher at Wounded Knee. And a guy that I really do like, his name is Joe Brings Plenty. Yes. He's a new counselor at the school. My very first interaction with him, I ended up talking with him for about 4 hours. He's the counselor, dean of students. Dean of students, yeah. Excellent. Yeah. I wish everybody could meet this guy. He's from up north, but he's he's from here, right in Pahisika. Yeah. So his dad's from here. Here. His mother's from Cheyenne River. Cheyenne River. Yeah, Cheyenne River. So he's a really good guy, and seeing everybody else, especially Tom C. Yeah. The politician Tom C. I seen him right when I got here, and I started giving him hell. So, but some really good changes in Tulane Karen White Butterfly. It was such a joy seeing her again, and just happy to be here. Really happy to be here. That I did get to see the other side of being Native
I'm sure, like a lot of these listeners out there, they've been to Wachipi. Like I know Delma's daughter dances at Stanford and places like that. Some of these people go to Connecticut, but then they probably see dancers from over here dancing over there. But if you live there, like say you live in Michigan, or if you live in Florida, Texas, or somewhere, then every little thing that you see that's Native American, you're going to cherish.
Oh, yeah.
And things that we take for granted every day here, whether it's a turkey feather or a little dream catcher.
Yep.
They're going to ask you, what is this?
Yeah.
Or even a star quilt.
Yep.
They'll say, can you explain what this means? Yeah.
And that goes on to the other part was that they, Wachipi here, it's all good stuff. But like out there, it was almost like it was like sacred.
Yeah.
Everything. Watch.
Everything's too sacred.
Don't step on too much of the grass because it's Unchumaka. Okay, that's don't throw your cigarette butts on the ground.
Yeah.
So it kind of was a little bit overwhelming compared to being here and how we do things within the Lakota culture is a lot different than what they do out there. Mm-hmm. Because just precisely what you said is that you might have, being here, wherever you live, Pine Ridge, Porcupine, wherever, look on your walls. You have something Lakota on your walls that, or a buffalo skull or something that you not really take for granted, but it's on your walls that were, the people out in the east or
they would love to have it.
They would love to have. They would absolutely cherish something like that. Mm-hmm. And it goes back to. And I got back and I started going through some of my stuff in my box. Yeah. I have beaded stuff that I've collected since I've been here. If I could have had that stuff, I'd be a millionaire right now if I would have taken and sold any of that.
Next year we should take a tour over there. Take some.
What I want to do is take the folks down here at the Wounded Knee Junction, load them all up, take whatever they have, and take them out to Michigan or wherever. They'd come back millionaires as well, because that was a thing. Anything made by Lakota people is like a gift from the heavens. Yeah. It's like. It's real hard to describe that anything Lakota that's made by a Lakota, people go crazy over it.
And I was at one place where they watch videos of Lakota videos, and they're Lumbee or they're Cherokee or they're I don't know, Micmacs.
Yep.
And they're proud of their wherever they come from, but but they really like the Lakota way.
Yeah, they don't have this.
Yeah, because some of them do not have, like you said, a song like the flag song.
Yeah.
So you go to a powwow in Georgia, you're going to hear the flag song.
You're going to hear the Lakota flag song. I don't know where they got it or learn how to play it, but there's 5 or 6. White guys around the drums singing the Lakota flag song. Then the victory song, kind of odd to see, but that's just a fact that it does happen.
Yeah, that happens.
But it makes me proud to see that once again, somebody's taking something from the Lakota people, but and that's you can look at that
and there's like the tribes from Oklahoma, they have pretty pretty good culture too. They're dominant. Their songs, and I think most of their songs getting to like North Carolina, Georgia, Florida area, they always sing those southern songs. So, but if you're Lakota, be proud.
Oh, yeah,
everybody looks up to you guys.
If you could have seen what I seen this past summer, just being Lakota, it's really changed me. As far as there's people out there that would just love to spend 15 minutes even talking to a Lakota elder about a simple story.
Yep.
That's the thing that really got me, is that everything just seemed to be sacred to them.
And you have Lakota cultures out there that right now they don't have language. So, and we don't want that. We want to keep our language, because language is our culture.
Yeah, just
and
like
everything else
centers around
it.
Yep.
And it's culture is something that changes. So the way we dress, and that's another thing. Like if you go to like Wachipi in Michigan, you probably don't see Wranglers and how we dress over here, right? Remember last night we were watching the Rosebud Wachipi on OLC. And there was, I think there were judges. There was standing there facing the drum, and one of them had a hat and his shirt tail was hanging, and had a drumstick in his pocket.
Wranglers and cowboy boots.
Cowboy boots that were cut in half.
Right, right. You don't see that.
That happens. See, that happens. That happens. The other one might be, you might see a car coming down 18 with a couple of donuts.
And a big old drum sitting on the top.
Big old drum on top. Loaf of bread in the back. And
that's part of our culture.
That's it,
you don't have to be pulling up in a brand new Mercedes to and then jump out with a beaded choker on and I seen that quite a bit, that there's people that want to be native so bad that they can feel it, and then there's natives out there that want to be Lakota so bad that so I'm just happy to and it makes me proud to see to watch OLC and see the young kids dance, and that this culture really isn't dead, but with the language, that was another big thing with the language, is that they're opening prayers. They're opening prayers straight up English. What about they have no? Because we don't. I don't know. Nobody here knows the whatever language they spoke.
Well, right now we have with our language right here in Lakota land. Sometimes we don't have speakers to say the Wochiki in Lakota. And that's why we're really into this revitalization movement to revitalize this language so that our younger children, like those kindergarten up there, and I think all over the schools on this reservation, on other reservations, they teach the younger ones to speak this, keep speaking Lakota. Because one day they'll be standing up there praying in Lakota, singing in Lakota, and it really sounds like, really looks good when someone gets up and speaks Lakota and then sing Wocheke, Oloa, and then Wocheke and Lakota. So that's why we always talk about the Lakota language, and that's why we always come up here, and we always have two words. Those two words are Wachinthanka, that's perseverance, and patience, and the other one is commitment. So it's Lakota language, we have to keep teaching the Lakota every day. We just can't teach one day and next week do it again, next month do it again. It just have to be done every day, whether it's just saying good morning or my name, my age, but they keep learning, they keep adding those thoughts. And someday they'll tie them all together. And it can be done because Konshla Peter, if he's listening, he did it.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So it can be done. And all it takes is, if you want to speak the language, you can. And you need somebody to motivate you.
Yep.
That's all. And that's why being Lakota is hard. And in some places, they want to be Lakota.
They want to, that's a fact.
And when we're here, we're Lakota, but we don't really, we have it, so we don't really...
But, especially, I'm at 15 different states. I got to travel through 15 different states and spent time in each of those 15 states. And every single one of them. I had one lady that did not believe my last name was Ghost.
Yeah.
Well, how did you get that name? Well, I can tell you I didn't win it in the lottery, or I didn't buy it at Walmart. This name it's generations old. Yeah. Well, how do you get a Lakota name? There's no possible way.
Yeah.
You're not Lakota. I can't help you. So, but it's just good to be back. I'm happy to be here and see everybody.
Yep, it's good to have you back because we need young people that are like. We have a gentleman that works at Anderson, and since we work for Oyukhbe, the Owayawa, maybe before we change this. There are some announcements, and I wanted to mention something. That's why I wanted to go to Oyukhbe. There's a gentleman that works there. His name is Laverne. And I think I was talking to him last week, and he was asking about you. He said, "Dokiaho," he said, and I said, "Well, that means I didn't hear from him for a long time."
Right.
And he stood there for a while, and he said, "I hope he comes back." And he said, because he said he really likes the Lakota culture, and he's very he's an advocate. You might say. Right. It means he's really want to revitalize our culture. Yeah, whether it's like right now, you came and you danced. You have your regalia. Now, how many people? It takes a long time.
Yeah,
I've been on this. I've been here for over half a century, more than, and then I have moccasins.
Right.
And I have, that's it. And I always wanted to dance. And so, I wanted to say that for Laverne. And I know Laverne, he's a walking culture, walking history. And,
definitely walking history.
Yeah. And well, even like he shows you what Lakota in Lakota way, what one of the virtues over the last 2 summers, and what he showed you was the generosity.
Generosity. Yep.
And you've seen it.
Yep.
You've seen he don't even have to tell you that he's generous. You watch him. He did it, and later on, I said, I wonder why he did that. I wonder why he gave that away. But he did it again this past summer. And, he just wanted to show the young people and the people that what I shouldn't say, he didn't want to show it. He just lives that.
By example.
By example, yeah.
And that's the hardest.
Yeah.
That's a hard thing to do. And any culture is not lead by example, but live by example.
Live by example, yeah.
Living by example is different than leading by example, because you lead. You could be a leader every day of your life, but you can take time off from that. But you have to live every day. Mm-hmm. And when you live by example, that's totally different thing.
And the other one was it's just like we're doing a story here about, in a way, it's the culture.
Mm-hmm.
How you look at culture. You look at culture from Michigan. You look at culture from Florida. And you look at culture from right here in the middle of Lakota country, where you live the Lakota way. And also the other part of that is Laverne showed us the history. What happened? What happened in 1877, September.
Right.
And he keeps showing that. And he keeps telling people about it.
June 25th, when we went to over by his house. He's pulling stuff out of his house. At his giveaway. That's and this isn't federally funded. This isn't. He didn't ask money from anybody. This is out of his own pocket.
He had Nick and them cooked the meat soup, fried bread. His daughters made the fried bread, and then he said, "Upo," and he said, "Come,
yep.
You don't have to bring anything."
Yep.
So that's his way of just showing history, our Lakota beliefs, virtues, and someday, like each person, like I think you mentioned a name.
Mm-hmm.
Someday, you will go through that too. You will go through some of these the sacred, like Punka, whether it's Inipi, you already went through Inipi.
Right.
And you're not going to go through all of them right away. But that's up to you. So there's a lot to be learned in the Lakota way. And then now there are young, like in Manderson, when they need this with school, we want those younger people to learn honor song, so that they can like last week or this week, all of a sudden Monday was Grandparents' Day.
Right.
So and it happened so fast, but everything was done right. Because the people that can do it were there. And it was done. And we didn't wait for anybody.
Right.
We just went ahead and took the sage, the flowers, everything, and we fed them. We had Zelia, we gave them water, sang some songs, and did it.
And that's what we went back to the classroom, and and I had kids ask me, some students ask me, well, what did we do this for? What happened here?
Yeah.
We're honoring our grandparents.
Yeah.
If you look at it, it doesn't matter how many sets of grandparents you have. Without grandparents, I wouldn't be here. When I told them that, I said, without grandparents, you wouldn't be here. So, and especially on this res, there's a lot of kids that do directly live with their grandparents.
Their grandparents. That's what they call home.
Home. Where they're the most comfortable.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is, you don't just honor these grandparents just because they've made it to the age of 88. No, we honor these grandparents because they're the smartest people among us.
Yeah.
Culture-wise, you just life experience-wise, definitely. The grandparents, depending on the ages, or my grandparents would be close to 80 in their 80s now. In the 80s, you're talking about, they were born about the time that we were just being recognized as U.S. citizens.
Yep.
I was thinking about that, a while back, that, being Lakota, we were Lakota people, we're Native Americans. We weren't even considered U.S. citizens, where, you look at the Potawatomi and them, the Eastern people, they kind of went through the same thing too. What the part was, and we was talking to Tui and Karen about this, is that they had to hide their identity.
Mm-hmm.
They had to hide even into the 18. While the Lakota here were battling for their lives, the Native people in the East were trying to blend in and not be called Native. I'm Mexican or I'm Cuban or whatever. We're out here still proud to be Lakota, and we were fighting the United States Army. Never had to deny being Native. That's pretty impressive. I mean,
there's some of these like Ho-Chunk. We went to Ho-Chunk up in Wisconsin, and they have a really nice casino, but their culture was, it seems like it's all there in that casino, around that casino.
Yep.
And then once you leave that parking lot, they all go into, they filter into other culture.
Yep.
And the tribal office is right there, and then maybe a street.
Yep.
And then they're, so it's different. They live this, their culture is not like the culture here.
Right.
And they are that, they have drum and they sing and everything that day. Those 3 days we were there.
And they can take a break from that, though.
Yeah.
Where here, there's no taking a break from being
Lakota. You're here all the time.
Exactly.
You hear it all the time.
Yep.
You hear it all the time. But there, you just hear it when there's a gathering.
Yep.
Or when there's something going on.
Or there's money involved.
Any other time, then you're not gonna see it.
And that was the thing. Right before I left, we had the casino right near where I grew up in Michigan. Absolutely huge. It got so big they had to build a satellite casino.
Oh, yeah.
And now they're giving millions and millions of dollars away to local schools that might have a percentage of less than 1% Native American population. I wish that could happen here, but that's a perfect world. And
we're talking about culture here, and the culture, our ways are very strong.
Right.
But right now, in like, I know other schools are doing this. We have this culture night, we call it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's next week we're having one. On the 21st. Now, why are we doing this? We're sitting here talking, really saying that you and I live culture every day. We know how to do a lot of things that were done in the past, or we know, like, but there's a reason why we're doing this.
Right.
Because maybe there's some out there that last week we had, I think Karen presented choke cherries.
Right.
Choke cherries. Dry foods. Just like choke cherry, magamu, maganiza, and then the other can both. She made wojapi, choke cherry wojapi, and then that made wasna. So we see we're very strong. We're still very strong Lakota. We still have a lot of Lakota speakers. But there's some things that we need to keep revitalizing.
Language.
And that's the language. Plus these things. These foods. Just like the timsila. Remember we were timsila digging.
Yeah.
Now, if we don't do this, do you think we will remember what they look like 10 years from now, or 5 years from now? So I think this culture night is to bring back the old ways. What did we do around this time of the year 100 years ago? We get ready for winter. We have dried timsila, we have choke cherries, we have waganiza, papa. So that's what we're trying to do. And then today, we're trying to bring our people together at the schools. Like each school has a community.
Yep.
There's oyate, there's parents, inaute, kakaunchi. And then if these people don't come, if we don't, shouldn't say we, if we all don't work together, then the schools are not going to be strong. A lot of things that go on in a school, and if, like say you're a parent and you don't come to the school, you're not going to know, you won't know what's going on here, and maybe we won't know what's going on over there across the road, just stone's throw from the school.
Then one more thing was the fall equinox.
Yes.
It'd be next week, the fall equinox, and that would be the trip to Bear Butte. Bear Butte, that's coming up, and that's and then a winter equinox or winter solstice. So,
December.
If anybody has questions about that, call Wounded Knee District School and ask for me. I can not really a pro, but I can direct you in the right direction. It's something that I know that I'm extremely proud of that. That in the next week or so, we had been as Lakota people, and Cheyenne would be gathering at Bear Butte to become our oyate to get ready for the winter. So we can still do that now.
And that's planning.
Yep.
See, they plan ahead. And today we don't. Maybe we don't plan sometimes.
Right.
So this social night or culture night is to bring people together to show what goes on 100 years ago, whether it's food. And then next week we're going to have a presentation on horsemanship, and one on beating. I think Janice is doing that, and then Tanya is going to do something. So every other week there's going to be something like this culture.
And everybody's invited.
Everybody's invited. Yeah. And we're going to feed, and we're going to have drawings. Last week we gave away one of those flat screen TVs.
Nice.
I don't know how big it's. The small one, but it's still really nice.
Still in the flat screen TV.
It's not 27 inch.
Still.
And then we give away some propane.
For free, that wouldn't be a bad deal. So
tonight we talked about culture, and next week we will bring a story. So I want to thank all the listeners out there. Yeah. And sometimes we have listeners in Czech Republic. Sometimes, and then we have listeners in Germany, Samia, and we have listeners in where? Anyway. This is 90.1, goes all over, and then 88.7 in Rapid City, and then KILIradio.org.
And just to reiterate that again, is that there are people living or listening in Michigan live tonight. So that's.
I'll turn it back over to Studio A.
Studio and Hercules
and James.